Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, especially those of you who complain, which, let's be honest, is most of the human race. We're going to talk about how complaining is more of a short-term solution, or what seems like a solution, but really just comes with a lot of long-term side effects and doesn't really fix the long-term problem or what is actually going on. We're going to talk about why we complain, and don't worry, I'm not going to guilt trip any of you or any of that sort of stuff, but complaining and moaning and saying, women suck, or my life sucks, or it's not fair, or I hate my job, or whatever you might be currently unhappy about, it serves a short-term purpose, which is why we do it. You guys and girls, and me included, I complain sometimes. We're not stupid. We don't complain because it serves us no particular purpose. No, we're smarter than that. We complain because it gets us something. It gets us a bit of sympathy. It gets us some advice. It gets us that feeling of not feeling quite so alone. It is an outlet to let out some of our frustrations and our stress. It serves a purpose. But if we keep complaining, what happens? You guys have been human for long enough, and you know that if you complain for long enough, people lose patience. They get sick of it. They'll give you some blunt advice, or they'll say to you, stop moaning, stop complaining, or just get over it, or I don't have time for this anymore. Eventually, if you keep complaining about the same thing over and over again, and you don't take any action to improve it in any way, people will lose patience, and we don't really solve our own problem. If we keep complaining, nothing changes. Complaining is like the first step of changing something a lot of the time. And you can skip that step. You can just not complain. But when we complain, it is the first step of changing things. But if we don't take any other steps after that, then nothing happens. We don't solve the problem. We don't get ourselves the things that we want. Complaining is not the same thing as taking action. But a lot of people think that it is, or they misunderstand. They will bitch, they will moan, they will say, I'm unhappy with this. A lot of you do the same thing, and that's okay. Welcome to being a human. We complain sometimes. But a lot of you will say, I hate that women don't give me any time of day. I hate that I'm alone. I hate that I can't get laid. I hate my job. I hate that I don't have a business. I hate that I suck at dating. I hate that I'm a virgin. I hate that I'm an incel. And when we complain, we're almost lying to ourselves, particularly if we're chronic complainers, because hidden in the complaint is sort of an assumption that we ourselves make and other people make when they hear us complain. We're making an assumption or an implication that I must be really unhappy with this, and therefore I must want the opposite. But I think if a lot of you are very honest, and if most people in the world are honest, they want to complain and not change anything. Because again, we get a lot out of complaining. We get to feel like the victim. We sometimes get some sympathy. If we complain, we get to feel like we're doing something about our problems without actually doing much about the problems. Or we're doing the tiniest first step, but we're not doing anything after that. So we're not really enacting actual real change, but we get to sort of lie to ourselves, or it's not even a lie, it's an innocent deception. We innocently deceive ourselves that, no, I'm taking action. I'm really unhappy with my sex life, and complaining about it means I'm improving it. Not really. If you want something in life, like a goal, maybe to be happier, maybe more money, maybe some women, maybe a better job, a great relationship, whatever it might be, happiness, mental health, whatever it is that you want, you have to take some steps to get it. It's like, I use this analogy sometimes, the cake recipe analogy. If you want a cake and you want to bake a cake, you have to follow the recipe. It's not enough to just sit at home and go, I don't have a cake. This sucks. I'm really hungry. I really want a lovely chocolate cake. This sucks. How come I can't have a chocolate cake? You just need to get the ingredients, follow the recipe, and then you'll have a cake. It literally is just as simple as following the recipe. And in the case of a cake and a lot of goals, you can literally just pay to get a cake. You could just go out and pay to get a cake. So that's part of that recipe or those instructions to get that thing. But when it comes to goals, it's like we're not able to see it, or we sometimes forget to see it in the same way. Any goal, you are absolutely, or all of you are absolutely capable of achieving any goal. You're just not following the recipe. You're sitting there complaining, which is not the same thing as following the recipe. You're sitting there being unhappy, which is not the same thing as following the recipe. You're sitting there moaning and wishing it was different, which is not the same thing as following the damn recipe. It really, really, really is simple, guys. I don't know how to make this any more simple than I can. If you want sex and dating, go out and talk to lots of girls and improve yourself in the process. If you want more money, offer something of value to other people and then ask for money in exchange and play the numbers game. Ask a lot of people and some of them will say yes. It really is just that simple. If you want a better body, follow the instructions every day. For those of you looking to put on muscle, eat right and go to the gym a couple of times a week. If you want to lose weight, go for a walk and watch what you eat every single day. Just do that. If you miss a day here or there, that's fine. Don't beat yourself up. But it is just consistency. It's just follow the recipe. But when we complain, we're basically saying, I have no intention of following the recipe, but I feel like I am entitled to the cake or the result. And my ego or my entitlement means I'm going to complain, but not do anything about it. That entitlement won't do jack shit for you, ladies and gentlemen. You can sit there and moan and complain and bitch and be unhappy until the cows come home. But if you don't take any steps that are required in order to get your goal, you will not get the goal. Again, in the case of dating, it literally is just improve the way you look, go outside or go on the dating apps and talk to a lot of women and ask them out. That is it. That's just not complicated. It is so unbelievably easy, or I will say simple. Maybe easy is not the right word, but simple to have sexual fucking intercourse in 2025. It is not a complex thing. Making money is not even remotely complicated. People will make it complicated. They will sell you courses and all of this on how to make money, and those things are beautiful. They can help. But in those courses, it often seems complicated, but it's not. It's just offer something of value and ask a lot of people for money in exchange for that thing. And hell, even if you don't have anything of value, go outside and ask strangers for money and some of them will say yes. So you don't even need to fucking offer anything. Just walk up to strangers and say, can I please have $1? And some of them will say yes. Do that enough times and you can earn $100 in a day. Start offering something of value and then you can charge people more money for that and you'll make even more money. It's not complicated. It really isn't complicated. But we overcomplicate it as almost a defense mechanism so that we can keep complaining. Again, our brains like to complain because they get something out of that. We get to feel like the victim. We get that sympathy. We get to avoid rejection. Complaining is basically a band-aid solution to your pain. It temporarily makes you feel better. Even better is a sort of not really accurate term because you don't feel good when you complain, but it's like a pressure release in the moment. But it doesn't change anything long term. So let's talk about some solutions. The very first one is to acknowledge the feeling, acknowledge the frustration, acknowledge that you feel lonely if it's dating, acknowledge that you feel like you're not good enough, acknowledge that you wish you had more money, like acknowledge it. And that can sometimes look like complaining or to vent. Again, I don't denigrate anyone who complains. I'm just talking about if you continually complain and never change anything. So let yourself vent for a little bit. You know, talk about your frustrations, talk about your sadness, talk about your loneliness, express that stuff, and then say, okay, what do I want instead of this? What is the outcome that I actually want? And one of the questions that I ask all of my coaching clients, in fact, it's the very first thing that I ask people in the first session that I work with them. I say, what do you want? In fact, I have a questionnaire that people fill out before they jump into coaching with me. And it says, like, what are your goals? What do you want? Like, what kind of life do you want? And so we go towards what we want rather than sitting there complaining about what we don't want. And so what I'm basically saying here is turn your complaints into goals. Like every complaint is simply an unspoken desire. If you're complaining about your job, what you really want is a better job or more money or less stress or to work somewhere else or to work from home. And so basically switch the goal into, or switch the complaint into an actual goal. What you're essentially doing here is turning it into the exact 180-degree opposite of your complaint. So if you're saying, I hate my job, what would be the opposite of that? I love my job. Okay, I want to go and find a job that I love. If you say, women never give me the time of day, like women don't pay attention to me, okay, I want to be a person that women pay attention to. If you say, I don't have enough sex, like no one's having sex with me. Okay, I want to have sex. Like literally just turn it into the 180-degree opposite, and that is your goal. So again, I say complaining is a sometimes decent first step because it's telling you what you don't want, and then you can turn that to the opposite, and that will tell you what you probably do want. Again, goals are not difficult. It's just, what am I bitching and moaning about? Let me do the opposite of that. And I talk about this, or I phrase this as playing to win. So if you're sitting there saying, I don't like my job, or I don't like this, or I hate this, that's you complaining and playing not to lose. You're saying, I don't want to do this. I hate this job, or I hate that I'm a virgin. Turn it around to the opposite, and that's playing to win. I want to win in life. I want to have a great experience. I want to help other people win. I want to have more sex, or make more money, or have more friends, or be happier. Talk about what you want rather than what you don't want. Because if you go around talking about what you don't want, well, you're never going to take any action to get the thing that you do want. And you're going to ostracize everyone who's sick of your complaining. And all you're filling your head with is thoughts of the things you don't want. You are literally making yourself more miserable, more unhappy, more uncomfortable, more sad, and full of more suffering every time you complain about the thing you don't want. It literally just makes you feel shit. And many people, some of you will be doing the same thing, live their entire life that way, where they just make themselves fucking miserable without knowing that they're doing it. It's almost like a addiction. Like complaining can very much become an addiction. It can very much become just a habit. Maybe we'll call it a habit. That's a kind of way of phrasing it. And so we want to go for the opposite. And what you can then do is start to brainstorm some small baby steps, some solutions to your problems. And every problem has a solution. So you can write down one or two tiny, seemingly insignificant, small baby steps that you could take towards making more money, or having more sex, or having more love in your life, or whatever it is that you're looking for. In other words, what is the next step? What is the tiniest little piece of action that I can take? And let me go and do that. I do this with all of my coaching clients. Like I say to them, obviously, what do you want? And then whatever goal they tell me, and sometimes they will complain about what they don't want, and I'll say, stop. I'm not interested in what you don't want. I could not give a fuck about what you don't want. You don't want it. Why are we even talking about it? Why are we talking about the thing you don't want? Tell me what you do want. And then they'll tell me what they want, and I say, okay, let's break that down into one tiny little baby step that you can start taking right now. And then we'll talk about the next step, and the next step, and the next step. And so I basically hold people's hands through this process. So you can do the same thing with yourself. And I would recommend you get some sort of accountability. You're very welcome to hit me up for coaching, or you can find somewhere free, like a forum or a support group, or if we're talking about like addiction or something, find a support group for that. You can get some friends to help you. But I would not sit there and just use people as a punching bag for your complaining. I wouldn't bitch and moan to people because they tend to leave, or they get sick of it, or they lose patience, or they're not going to help you if you're complaining, because they can see that you're just complaining. You're not focusing on solutions, you're focusing on problems. So if you're going to go to people and try and like fish for them to agree with you that this sucks, like, can you just agree with me that dating sucks and it's not fair and my life sucks? No. Almost fish for them, or ask them to keep you accountable to take action. So say to them, I feel like I've been complaining about this a lot. Would you mind checking in with me next week to see if I've taken action? Or ask for help. Say, hey guys, I feel like I'm bitching and moaning about the same things every single week, week in, week out. Can you guys help me? Like, I actually want help this time. I don't just want to bitch and moan and nothing changes. I'd like help. And I think I'm humble enough to actually listen and follow it. And that's what this requires. This requires a little bit of humility here. You have to basically let go and say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to be humble enough to accept the help, to listen, to take the action, to follow the recipe or the instructions, and to do the things that need to be done in order for me to live this life that I want to be living. And you need a problem-solving mindset for that. My Play to Win video course is very good for that. There's a link down below. There's literally a chapter in there called Every Problem Has a Solution. I talk about how to start looking at solutions, how to find solutions, what to do, how to take those baby steps. You're also welcome to hit me up for coaching, like I said. Rather than sitting there saying, this is unfair, problem-solving mindset is more like, what can I do about it? Like, so many people want to just sit around and say, dating is unfair for men, it's so hard. Or the world is unfair, and it's like, yeah, cool, what are you going to do about it? Like, that is literally what I say to all of my coaching clients if they ever complain. And they eventually learn to stop complaining because they realize how unhelpful it is. But if they ever do complain, I'm like, cool, I agree with you. What are you going to do about it? And then they go, oh, yeah, fuck. Okay, what am I going to do about the fact that I don't have any women in my life right now? What am I going to do about the fact that I don't feel worthy? What am I going to do about the fact that I don't like where my life is and I'm not happy and I'm a bit depressed? Cool. What is the next step that I can take? And then what you want to do is start reinforcing reward systems that reward you for action, like taking action, rather than venting and complaining. Like, no, that's not true. I will not consistently keep rewarding you guys if you keep consistently complaining. The first couple of times you do, I will say, good job sharing. This is so vulnerable of you. I'm proud of you. So I'll reward you at first. And then I'll say, let's focus on solutions. But if you kept complaining and didn't change anything, I would not keep rewarding you. I'd say, buddy, come on, what are you doing? Like, do you want to change this or not? Because right now it seems like you don't want to change it because you're continuing to complain and you're not doing anything that would change it. And so stop rewarding yourself for venting and complaining. It's better if you stop complaining, at all, or complain for a little bit and then say, what do I want to do about it? Like, get into that problem-solving mindset. But don't reward yourself for venting. You can ask your friends, or if you want to hit me up for coaching, but ask people to literally reward you only for taking action and to not reinforce your negative worldview. So if you sit there and complain, either try and find some friends that just won't put up with that. They'll be like, bro, stop complaining. Come on, what are we going to do about it? Or find some, or like cut some friends out. If you have a bunch of friends that will just sit around moaning with you and be like, yeah, it does suck, bro, the world sucks. Like, I would not be spending time with those people. Nothing against them, or I would spend less time with them, or I would stop complaining with them. And if they start complaining, I would shut my brain off or I would leave. And I have a couple of friends that do complain about things. My friends are not impervious to this. When they start complaining, I'll let them complain for a minute or two. And then I'll say, hey, bro, like, what do we want to do about this? Like, I don't sit there and let complaining or negativity infiltrate my brain and affect how I feel and how I view the world. And a lot of you just sit around, or some of you sit around complaining and being around people that complain, and it is literally infecting you with negativity. You're making it so much harder to take action. And so again, you don't have to cut them out of your life, but I would just cut off the complaining conversations. And you can literally ask them to help you with this. Like, they're not the enemy. You don't need to like push them away. You can literally say, guys, I'm working on being more positive. Do you mind if we complain less? And one of my best friends, Tim, he and I did this quite a few years ago, probably like 8 years ago, where I said to him, I feel like we bitch and moan and complain about everything, bro. Would you mind keeping me accountable? You can complain if you want to. I'm not going to control you or your life, but I would like to complain less. Would you mind reminding me of this conversation if you hear me complain? And he was like, fuck, man, I want to complain less too. Let's do it. And he's not perfect. He still complains about quite a lot of things. He gets very caught up in politics and feminism and shit like that kind of like political shit. But now if I remind him and say, bro, chill. What are you going to do about it? Like, what are you going to change rather than just bitching and moaning? He'll go, oh, yeah. Okay, thanks for reminding me. So find some people to keep you accountable. Again, I'm very happy to do this with you guys if you would like to. That is like literally what the fucking coaching is. It's literally multiple times a week, especially if you do the one-on-one coaching. You get to sit down with me. We get to go through all your limiting beliefs. Anytime people complain in the group, like there's daily access in the group and I jump in there every single day and coach people and do voice messages and video calls and all of that. Every single time I see someone complain, I jump in there and I'm like, hey, bro, what do you want to do about this? What are we going to do about this? Rather than sitting there feeling stuck, feeling like you can't change, it's like, let's do something. Let's build you that confidence. Let's build you that money. Let's build you that sex life. Let's create that life that you're actually proud of. So if you're sick and tired of sitting around complaining, nothing changing, feeling like you can't do anything about it, that is what I am here for, to support you, to lift you up, to stop you from procrastinating the steps that you've been putting off. You are not going to have the life that you want unless you take action. You have to actually do something. Don't just sit around complaining, do something. Right now is the perfect time. I have a coaching deal on where you get 50% off my one-on-one coaching, and there is only one slot left. I had a guy take the first slot a couple of weeks ago. I've been working with him for 2 weeks. He is absolutely fucking crushing it with life. If you would like to join him and all the other people in the group coaching program, because you get access to that as well, I will leave a link down below. I'm happy to jump on a free call with you. We can talk through any questions you have. I will give you a bit of free coaching so you can see if the coaching is right for you. I will not pressure you in any way. No sales techniques, none of that shit. We have payment plans if you need that as well. Link down below. Guys, you deserve to live an amazing life. It is only going to happen if you take action. Stop complaining, get out there, and live the life that you fucking want to live.